What's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we have a very special transformation breakdown. Breaking down how my client Darren lost 16 kg of body fat during the program and has gone through a life-changing process both physically and mentally since joining. Now, Darren himself is a coach himself, he's a PT. I set the standard high and told him, look, if you want to be taken seriously, we want to aim to get an elite level shape and to really walk the walk, helping his future online presence going into online coaching. So with Darren, we opted for an aggressive push because he had told me his desire to make a real statement. So Darren went from 81 kg starting off all the way down to 66 kg. So overall he lost 16 kg of body fat during the first block of coaching. Now this is an aggressive push and it's not for everyone. We very much tailor the approach based on the individual in front of us. How I dieted Darren will not be the exact way I would diet a father of 3 or 4 kids who has a full-time job, works 9 to 6 or whatever, you know. Darren's a coach himself. He's a PT himself. Yes, he's very busy in person, but he was well able, as he had mentioned even at the end of the process. It was difficult, but he was well able the whole time. So for us, it's all about walking the walk and leading by example. Going through a big change physically ourselves, taking ourselves from somebody who was, let's say, you could tell we could lift, but we're nowhere near as impressive as we want with his physique, with his knowledge around training, nutrition. And what we see now is Darren has gone through a physical transformation, but has benefited massively around his education, his knowledge, and just his overall relatability with clients is now the best it's ever been, having gone through the process himself. You have to, as a coach, I must stress this, you have to have gone through the process yourself at least once if you expect others to follow what you're doing. Darren's training. Now, being a PT himself, I was very aware he's going to have a decent level of training experience behind him. At the same time, we were able to refine lots of parts of his training in terms of his technique and his tempo and his execution, and then his intensity came then. So early on, I hounded Darren for videos of his training. So in the first week or two, we must have got maybe 20 to 30 videos across. Basic movements we had programmed for him. Darren ran a 5-day split. Push, pull, legs, push, pull. The 2 push, pull rotations being obviously different. Push A, push B. You know, you get the whole point. Programming incorporated the basic movements, as that's usually the way I train myself, and the basics and the simple things always work well. We had chest presses, we had flies, we had rows, we had lat pull downs, we had squat variations, hip hinge movements, and of course the isolation work, which is fundamental to any physique transformation, covering everything off. There's nothing fancy about the program, by the way. We just became experts at executing the movements to a T in technique, tempo, and the intensity. So mastering the basics, but doing them so well and increasing the intensity over time. So again, nothing fancy about the way he trained. And even as a PT, as a coach himself, there was definitely things to improve on, which he was very open to working on. In terms of his nutrition, okay, Darren's starting calories were 2,500, okay? 2,500. And what we've seen early on was a real increase in performance and very little hunger involved. Now, this for me is how you set up a successful diet, to the point you feel great and your performance is high early on, and there should be no hunger in the first few weeks. Guys, if you're hungry in the first few weeks in a diet, something's badly wrong. You know, although we went aggressive, that sounds like it's too aggressive, because you want to be able to hold on to as much performance as you can. If you start too low, it's not a great place to be at. So Darren's starting weight's 81 kg. His starting calories were 2,500, okay? His protein requirements, 160 grams. Carbohydrates was 300 grams, and then fats were 50 grams. So protein to keep him full, to ensure he recover well from his training, which is so important. The fats, from a hormone regulation standpoint, 50 grams was great for him. And then carbohydrates, vital for his performance early on. And like I said, it was great because Definitely in the first half of the cut, let's say the first 6 weeks, there was no real hunger involved. Now, towards the end, as you see in his transformation, he was shredded. All right, so it's a big, big change for him. You're going to deal with a level of hunger towards the end. That is inevitable, okay? So you have to become comfortable with that. You have to push through that little bit of discomfort if you're looking to get down to 10% body fat, which realistically Darren got to. Elite shape, you're going to have to deal with hunger towards the end. That's inevitable, okay? So go back to his calories, 2,500. Slowly over the program, we had dropped those calories down as he went through the fat loss phase, and his finishing calories were 1,700. Okay, and that's the very last week. We dropped down the very last week. So even before that was like 1,800. Incorporating a meal plan which had his favorite foods on it already. Darren gave me a list of foods he liked already. You know, for example, overnight oats, basic enough meals for us to incorporate. And we just gave him a meal plan with the right macros in place, portion sizes. It was the easiest thing, just the easiest thing ever for him to follow and maintain long term. So again, that's how we program for a lot of clients when it comes down to nutrition is, you let me know what you like. I will incorporate that to the best of my ability. Now, if you're having frozen pizzas for dinner, I'm not going to give you that, of course, because performance and keeping full is key and overall health too. Nothing wrong with frozen pizza, by the way. But if you're serious about physique development and getting in great shape, you know, you have to compromise a bit, don't you? So, moving on to his lifestyle, his output. Steps and cardio. Now, what was a crack here? People think he's doing crazy amounts of cardio by looking at him. Towards the end, you do a lot of cardio, yes, of course, that's a given. But starting off the program, we ran no cardio. Not one bit of cardio at the very start of the program. The reason being, Darren was doing really high steps of work. He was on the gym floor, doing loads of steps, honestly, well above 12 to 15K as a range. So we started off with diet and steps only. We might have incorporated cardio 2 weeks into the plan. Again, it's not about throwing everything at it in week one, pile of cardio, really low calories, just try and starve yourself. Yes, you might get quick results, but how do you feel performance-wise and how do you get the result long term? So we start off with as little as we need to, really, you know, which gets the ball moving in terms of weight loss. No cardio, steps and diet only, and he responded very well. And over time, we just dropped calories over time as we went through the process. And cardio, we slowly but surely went up the gears week on week with the cardio, which is all low intensity cardio. It was off feet cardio as he's still nursing a bit of an injury in his foot. So we just ran off feet cardio on a bike, mostly the exercise bike he was on for that. Little things as well for us to note would have been monitoring Darren's sleep, monitoring Darren's hydration during the program to ensure those were both met well, only boosting his health and recovery. Monitoring Darren's stress management, monitoring Darren's mental health. The reason why I coach, it isn't, of course, the physicality is a big thing for me, yes, but it's for nothing unless the mental health and the head isn't right. That's why I track clients' mental health, overall general mood, you know. From someone who was a PT himself, he is a PT and a coach himself. He's gone from a position whereby he always had this question mark and cloud around his physique. It's not that he was putting it off for a while, but a lot of people don't actually know what that looks like for them until they go through the process themselves. He can't believe the change in himself. The key thing for Darren now is going to be to transition fully into physique development. So the reverse diet's a key thing now. Just last week we gave him his reverse diet, especially for a cut like this, which is very aggressive. It's important we keep standards high even now in the reverse diet where calories come back up, but just the right amount so he can set his new weight in stone, okay? So it's never a case of just going straight into a gaining phase after. Reverse diet to a T, it's one thing I'm massive on. One thing I'm very proud of is the amount of clients I work with long term. Because we maintain standards high even after a dieting phase, it's never a before and after of me and that's it. There has to be an after the after, whether it's with me or whether they go on by themselves. As long as they have the tools to maintain the progress long term, I'm very happy, so I am, okay? So Look, that was a quick transformation breakdown. First time doing something like this, so hopefully you found some value there in terms of getting a bit of an insight how the client achieves a result such as this. Because it's an elite result with an elite client in front of me. I simply just give him the tools, give him his training, give him his nutrition, check and process. All right, keep an eye on him, always there for him, support him during the journey. He's the one that puts the work in. All right, work ethic, consistency, and patience. If you have all three, you're laughing, okay? Any questions on that breakdown, reach out, give me a shout. I'm more than happy to help. Like, subscribe, comment, and stay tuned for more.